centres, the big cities, it was thought that it wasn't really pinned down, but places like Bangkok and Phuket and other tourist destinations, Chiang Mai in the north maybe, and those places would take
Let's
these huge
jump in
complexes, they would have
trampoline
all
park.
kinds of other forms of entertainment, cinemas and spas, boutiques, you name it, but they'd also have casinos. It was controversial, and the government was very keen because they felt that this was going to boost tourism. That was the way that they framed it. It was going to put them on a level with other Southeast Asian countries that had similar things. But clearly, the parliamentary arithmetic does not add up this time around. At least that seems to be the case.
And I mean, other listeners might be surprised that Thailand is out of kilter with much of the rest of the world when it comes to gambling of this sort. Clearly, the economic benefits and tourism might benefit from it as well. What's the other argument? What's the push against this kind of thing in Thailand?
There has been a long anti-gambling tradition. It's part of the ancient tenets of Buddhism, actually, for these people. They say since the 1930s, I think, there have been a view that it's one of the 5 tenets of Buddhism that one does not indulge in gambling. I think there's also a feeling across Southeast Asia, and actually you do find it in other Southeast Asian countries and in China, that it does have an extraordinary, perhaps disproportionately corrosive effect on the social fabric. You get gambling addiction, you get people getting into debt, perhaps because of local culture and ideas and attitudes about perhaps disclosing your own financial problems, people are secretive about it. And there are all kinds of the problems, I guess, that people identify with gambling in other parts of the world, but they just don't feel like they are well managed in the populations. So most governments do actually have some degree of prohibition on their own population's gambling. But in Thailand, they were going to change this. And in a quite a limited way, at least the government said so. It was going to be quite a limited lifting of those restrictions. But it just felt too difficult, and there was a long-standing protest. I went to visit in the centre of Bangkok. People saying this is terrible for our country and it's terrible for our society. There was a huge scandal with a monk who was caught embezzling basically the money, or at least it was alleged he was embezzling the money of his own temple worshippers into a gambling scam. So there was a lot of talk about it. It just felt a step too far for a government that, as we know, has been under a lot of pressure recently for other reasons.
Oh, it's my colleague Ed Butler. You can hear more about that story by searching for Business Daily wherever you get your BBC podcasts from. Now, a pair of traditional Indian leather slippers appeared on the Prada runway last week. They were labelled as leather footwear, and that's caused a bit of a row in India, where some are calling out the brand for copying their work without giving any credit or compensation. Here's Davina Gupta.
I'm in a cramped, dimly lit workshop in Kolhapur. As I walk around to my right, there's a stack of freshly made leather sandals wrapped in a plastic sheet. In front of me, there are artisans who are sitting on the concrete floor. There are bits of threads, tools that are scattered around them, and they're all working in a rhythmic
Do you want one more?
It's like a choreography where they are cutting and stitching and shaping large sheets of leather in small sandals. These sandals are made from buckled hide, says Sadashiv Sanaki, as he cuts through a large sheet of brown leather. He's been working in this workshop for nearly 40 years.
I learned this craft as a child. Now I make about 50 pairs of the sandals in 10 days. I earn about $4 to $5 in one day.
Sadashiv is one of nearly 100,000 people in India who make these open leather sandals, known for their distinctive C-strap and a toe. Many of those in the trade.
What's up?
Hi. And face no wages, soaring materials, and tough work.
I'm good. Thanks for asking. I hope you are having a great day.
A strikingly similar design at Milan.
Open the blind.
The blind is open.
In origin, the backlash was swift.
I really believe that Kolhapuri is a cultural legacy for India, and lack of credit or collaboration makes this appropriation.
That's designer Ritu Berry.
The artisan from India remains invisible while the brands profit from it, from the inspiration that they get from here. So I think it's time we Indians claim our heritage.
In response to the criticism, Prada issued a statement acknowledging Indian influence. The brand told the BBC it's now in talks with the Maharashtra Chamber of Commerce, a local trade body. Lalit Gandhi is its president.
Actually, it is a good thing that a brand like a Kolhapuri Chappal get an endorsement from Prada. Definitely, the value is increased many folds. We want some share of that profit to be shared with the artisan.
Interestingly, Kolhapuri chappals were awarded a geographical indication or GI tag by the Indian government in 2019, a mark of authenticity that protects their name and design within India. But globally, it offers little protection. That's why Lalit Gandhi says they're now exploring a patent.
If we patent it and we can do a proper marketing, the artisans can get a good value of their product.
I'm now in Kolhapur's famous Chappal Gully or Sandal Market. It's a vibrant street lined with shops, and Kolhapuri sandals are everywhere in every shade. They're hanging from store fronts, they're nailed to the walls from top to bottom, and unlike Prada's luxury price tag, these ones are quite affordable.
I bought this because I saw it on the Prada Milan Fashion Week. That's why I really liked it, and that's why I got it.
How much have you paid for that?
I paid around $8 for it.
With demand rising, the Kolhapuri chappal industry, worth nearly $200 million, is now looking at the luxury market. And shopkeepers like Rohit Balakrishna Gandhi benefit while keeping prices low to attract more customers.
The design which Prada used was less
It's
popular
fully
here. But
charged.
now customers are asking for similar sandals, so we are making more of them.
But back in the workshop, artisans including Sadashiv had never heard of Prada. So I show him a video from the Milan fashion show and tell him sandals like his might be selling for hundreds of dollars in the near future. Are they made of gold, he says, raising a bigger question about value and fair pay in the world of luxury brands.
Davina Gupta report. So we could be in for a busy few hours in the US. This is what we know. Their deadline for trade deals to be done was the 9th of July. We understand that Donald Trump is going to start issuing these letters to countries that have few hours. The Treasury
You came out. I have
a
to
lot of
park the
countries
car.
changed their mind in terms of negotiations.
Where are
She
you?
preached the team here on World Business Report. Thanks for being with us for the programme.
Where's the car?
You're listening to the BBC World
Where's the
Service.
car?
And here's what's happening
No, we
in the
don't
studio
stop.
this week.
Yes.
Journey to 22nd Century Mars via the imagination of Ukrainian science fiction writer.
You stopped our car.